We have learned that when you're solving an equation involving parentheses, you can solve it by either first distributing or first dividing. I'm going to solve this equation both ways, and then we can talk about why one way may be sometimes easier. So I'm going to solve this equation first by distributing. So if you're distributing, remember that means you want to distribute that number on the outside of parentheses to each term on the inside of parentheses. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times positive 2 is positive 8. I want to solve for x. I want to get this x by itself, so I need to first undo this addition. If this is a positive 8, I'm going to do the inverse and subtract 8. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Eight minus 8 is 0, so those will cancel each other out. 20 minus 8 is 12. And then I'm going to carry down this 4x that I haven't done anything with yet. It's important to remember that 4x means 4 times x. So again, I'm going to have to use inverse operations to isolate or get this x by itself. So since this is multiplication, the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm dividing both sides by my coefficient, which is 4. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And we do divide by 4 because 4x divided by 4 is 1x, and 1x is the same thing as x. 12 divided by 4 is 3. We get a solution of x equals 3, which means when you plug 3 into our original equation, you will get a true statement, or a statement that makes sense. Now the other way you could have solved the equation is by first dividing. So when you divide, that means I'm going to divide this entire left side of the equation as well as the right side of the equation by 4. I'm dividing by the number that's in front of the parentheses. Remember, distributive property means you multiply the number on the outside by the terms on the inside. So to get rid of this 4, I'm doing the inverse of multiplication, which is division. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So those will go away. And on the left side, I get left with x plus 2. And then on the right side, 20 divided by 4 is 5. All right, so now to get x by itself, there's only one more thing we need to do. We need to get rid of this positive 2. To get rid of it or move it to the other side, we're going to do inverse operations. Inverse of a plus 2 is minus 2. So I'm subtracting 2 from both sides. All right, 2 minus 2 is 0. So our 2's are now gone. 5 minus 2 is 3. And on the left side of the equation, all I'm left with is my x. So I got x is equal to 3, which is good because now I have the same answer solving it 2 different ways. So you might think, well, how do I know when to divide or when to distribute? On which types of equations? So anytime your equation involves parentheses, your first step should be dividing or distributing. If you notice, dividing has smaller numbers and fewer steps, but it isn't always the easiest. If you try to divide on your very first step, and let's say maybe the number on the right ended up giving you a fraction or a decimal, that's going to make it harder to deal with. So when you divide, if you end up with a fraction or decimal on the right side, then I would stop what I'm doing and go back and solve using distributive property. Distributive property will always work, but you have some bigger numbers to deal with. Now go back to the Google form on the equation that you got incorrect, and please enter the correct solution.